Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Today I'm going to be drifting a little bit away from that whole attainable, affordable thing that I've been focusing this year. You know, it's February, why wouldn't I give up all of my concepts? But whatever, this one's findable and a little bit expensive. Not terrible. So, this is the Aberlour A'bunadh, and it is a single malt, speyside, cask strength, ex-Oloroso sherry cask. Beautiful. All those words are wonderful. The history of Aberlour is going to be very similar to a lot of the other Scotch histories that you've heard of before, where, you know, they started up, they got bought out, maybe it burnt down, they shut down for World War II, etc., etc. Started back up 10 years ago and they claim this rich history. In this case, it's a lot similar. They've been around a little bit longer than 10 years, but let's go over it real quick, okay? So in 1825, these two guys, James and John Grant, who you might recognize from another video I did up there, they went and started up the Aberlour distillery in the village of Aberlour. Now, they ran it for about 8 years, and then they left to go start up Glen Grant Distillery. Kind of crazy that they were able to start up two whole separate distilleries. Now, at that point, it shut down for about 50 years, until a guy named James Fleming came by and he kind of started it back up. And he ended up finding a well on the property that they called Drosten's Well, which was originally discovered by this monk, so whatever, and had really good water. So he started that up to, you know, start up another distillery in Aberlour. Now, that ran for a number of years until World War II shut it down, but this is where it's a little bit more unique. Normally, a lot of distilleries shut down completely. They redistributed all of their grains or whatever, or maybe they produced things for the war. In this case, they kind of reduced everybody's working hours to pretty low, but a lot of those workers still wanted to make whiskey. So they took the product and they brought it to a nearby waterfall and they distilled it there instead. And then they continued to sell it. And I don't know if that's commendable, to be honest, because World War II, but I'm just going to say at least it was good gumption, right? They were creative and they kept things alive. And Aberlour may have not have survived without it. So, eventually, Pernod Ricard would come to own Aberlour, and they consider it one of their, it's like a specialty that they have. They have several ranges, and this is one that they specifically accredit for like a small craft distillery. Now, that's why you're going to see Aberlour on your shelf at like a Total Wine or wherever you buy your whiskeys, but there's not going to be 20 of them on the shelf. There might be like 2. And that's kind of the span of Pernod Ricard that are able to kind of get that out there, but it's not like they're not doing huge volume, right? Like Macallan or something like that. Anyway, so that's the history of this brand. It's not like crazy. It's just, I thought the whole waterfall thing was kind of neat. Now, this whiskey was first introduced in the year 2000, and this is batch number 69.
Nice.
It's at 62.1% ABV, but that does vary by batch. It is exclusively aged in ex-Oloroso sherry casks, just like I said, and it is no age statement. However, most of what's in there is between 5 to 25 years old. Think about 25-year whiskey in just a sherry cask. Think about that flavor. That sounds really good. Sounds really good. It's non-chill filtered, so great. And the fact that it's no age statement doesn't bother me at all. It's going to cost about $100, and when I put up a poll earlier this week asking people what they thought of this whiskey, I saw a lot of people saying that they couldn't find it for less than $150. I'm just going to put this out there. Don't buy this for $150. If you can get this closer to $100, that's what I'm judging it by, so that's what you should consider when listening to me talk. This joins a rather predictable group of expressions that you'd get kind of across the board on any Scotch. So you've got a 12, of course, you've got a 16, an 18, of course, and then you have the cask anam, which is basically just means rare cask, and the Aberlour A'bunadh, which means of the origin, which is a homage to James Fleming. But then there's another one that's Aberlour A'bunadh, which is the same kind of thing as this being in ex-sherry casks. The other one's just in ex-bourbon casks. So trying to get that bourbon market, of course. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the nosing and the tasting, because this is going to be a good one. It is so deep and rich of sherry. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so nice. But that ABV, man, it just gives this whole character to this thing that you just don't get it very much. Usually when I drink sherried Scotch of any sort, I'm just kind of like, all right, what kind of red wine is this going to taste like? Obviously sherry, but you know what I mean. It's going to be the predictable flavors like orange and you know, strawberries and maybe, I don't know, something else, plums. But in this case, like the nose here is so thick and just heavy from the ABV, especially sitting out on the table for a while. So make sure you do that, otherwise you will not get this particular experience. So let's talk about what we're actually smelling here. First thing that comes to mind is just an extremely sugary raisin. Raisins is kind of predictable, not even predictable, it's very clear, but it's got a very sugariness to it. It's very sweet. Plums, but that goes along with the raisins, could easily be kind of the same smell. Red grapes, again, it's like all these little shriveled fruits. I would say orange peel, or more specifically the oils expressed from an orange. So if you're taking an orange and you're cutting it, it does not smell like this. This smells like when you twist that orange, and it's the way I would describe it is that it's more concentrated. So it's like a very heavy orange smell, like a zest. Black cherries. Everything about this smell is just small fruits. Marmalade. I'm gonna consider that to be the orange mixing together with that sweetness. So in the same way that the raisins did, the oranges are. So it's kind of marmalade-y. Marmalade-y. I'm gonna go with marmalade-y. All right, let's go ahead and taste this. Cheers, everybody. Whew. 61%. First drink of the night. Yeah, that's gonna hit you. So here's the thing with the taste, though. Get past that ABV, and I'm gonna take another taste in just a sec. I'm just letting this chill for a second. I'm gonna see if there's any finish to this. Man, it's just making me salivate. It's so good. Hope that doesn't sound terrible on the microphone. But when you sip this, it's gonna be high. That's 61%. There's just no way around it. Add some water to it if you'd like. I've done that off screen. As you can see, I've already hit this pretty well. So I've got my notes. If I don't get it right now, I have some stuff I'll bring up. All right, let's go for sip number 2. So here's what I'm thinking about whiskeys, right? So especially sherried whiskeys. This is the part of the video where I just go off on a tangent. When I drink a sherried whiskey, a lot of times, I love sherried whiskey. It's like probably one of my favorite kind of scotches. So when I drink sherried whiskey, I always think, kind of like I said, which red wine is this going to taste like? How is this not going to taste like whiskey? How are they masking this? Like what was wrong with the whiskey in the first place where they had to dump it into a barrel of red wine? This doesn't give me any of that impression. What this feels like is done on purpose, and I absolutely believe the idea that they have some really old sherried scotch in here, because you do not get the depth of the oak that I'm tasting here from a newer sherried finished whiskey. This spent all of its time in sherried barrels, and that shows because it's taken on the age of the wood, not just the sherry. And it's high ABV, but the flavor itself is fairly smooth. Speaking of flavor, there is one thing I'm going to call out first, just because it might be the first thing that you pick up. On the finish, it does taste a little bit like cherry cough syrup, but in a good way. So that's okay. Don't be turned off by that. When I had this the very first time, that was my initial impression, and I was just like, oh no, I just wasted $100 on something that tastes like medicine. But this does grow with you. So you've got black cherries on the flavor for sure. Orange is pretty much all over this thing. I can't talk. So black cherries, oranges, cherry cough syrup, chocolate, heavy oak. It is delicious so far. I'm gonna have. When was the last time you saw me take 4 sips on camera? Wow. Nutmeg. So here's an interesting thing. All of those flavors of just everything I just said, not really usual sherry finished flavors, right? These are heavier. That oak is affecting these flavors so much. Orange for sure, like you get that either way, but like the chocolate, when was the last time you got chocolate in a sherried scotch? That doesn't happen very often. And I just attribute that to that rich, full flavor. All right, I've gone on and on about this. There are probably a few more tasting notes that I would point out. Like, for example, when I added water to this, I did start picking out a little bit more of those sherry notes, just the lighter, like kind of red winey things. But I had to add actually quite a bit of water to get there, almost to the point where I'm not sure it wasn't just psychosomatic. So, or me just making stuff up. All right, let's talk overall. Now, Aberlour is not alone in this, but it's worth saying that I don't think that the no age statement here is a big deal. I feel like, I've said this before, like distillers will often go no age statement, and I look at it as a money grab. If you look at something, let's just say, and I'm not calling them out on purpose, it's just the first one that comes to mind. Look at like Old Pulteney, right? They have their age range, but then they also have, forget what it's even called, like the Humber, something like that. I'll put it up on the screen. But they made that, and I tried it, and I was just like, they just had extra, and they wanted to sell it, and it's no age statement because then they don't have to age it as long. And that's boring. And I hate when distillers do that because it feels like a money grab. It honestly, to me, it taints like the whole line. That is not what I get here. This feels done on purpose, which is wonderful. I feel like they added older stuff, but because they just didn't want to be bothered with saying like, well, it's like a 5-year-old and have that come off that way because they have 5-year-old in here. I think they'd rather just let the flavor speak for itself. And that's the way to do this. If you're going to do a no age statement, come out swinging, make something fantastic, and that's it. So, what does this get from my rating? This has been a long time I've been talking about this. First off, I think this is a buy it for sure. Even at the price of about $100, maybe $110 max would be what I would spend on this. I did spend that on this. I actually, I think I spent like $102, something like that. So I put my money where my mouth is. I tried it and I love it. I think it's good. Great even. I finished half the bottle before I even got a chance to review this, which does not happen very often. You'll notice a lot of bottles are only about at the shoulder. In the case of Aberlour A'bunadh, I asked you guys what you thought, and the audience agrees. 17% of you guys said to stock it, 17% said to buy it, another 10% said to try it, and then I think like 4% said to ignore it, and the rest had never tried it. So that's pretty awesome. I don't get results like that very often. All right. Anyway, thank you guys. This has been great. I'm loving this whiskey. I'm going to probably go drink this while I'm editing. And I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you go try this whiskey. And I hope you check out the comments because they're good stuff down there. All kinds of stuff. There's a Discord that we would love to have some more people in. Obviously the Patreon, but everybody has a Patreon. But you should still check it out. But thank you. Other than that, just there's some other channels that I run. Another channel that I'd love if you go check out. But I'll stop talking at this point because I've droned on, and this is a delicious glass of whiskey. Cheers.